So as superintendent of schools, it's my pleasure to welcome you today. As a product of our school district, having graduated from Jefferson High School, and as a parent to 3 children currently in our district, like many of us, this work is personal. We're a public school district, truly a community school district, and we choose to serve all children. It's our moral and professional responsibility. We are a community of hope, a safe haven for our students. We are an aggregate of community resources. Without CRCSD, those students in Cedar Rapids who have the least would suffer the most. Our facilities are hubs for community engagement and family and community connections. Our students are capable of growing into adults who contribute to our city and world by making it more livable, vibrant, equitable, safe, and exciting. It's truly up to us, in partnership with our families and our community, to guide our students towards their greatest potential. The Cedar Rapids Community School District is fortunate to be guided by a board of directors whose passion and compassion, vigilance, diligence, and leadership foster a culture of accountability and growth. Our board of directors include Gary Anhalt, Jennifer Borcherding, President Nancy Humbles, Raphael Jacobo, Kristen Jansen, John Laverty, and Vice President Mary Meisterling. I'd like to take a moment to invite all of our school board members to stand at this time, as well as all elected officials who are present. Please join me in recognizing our elected officials. At this time, please join me in welcoming Board President Nancy Humbles.
I believe I have my mic on. And thank you, Dr. Buck. And I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. As the school board president, it is my pleasure to participate in this opportunity to update the community on the exciting and compelling initiatives underway to deliver on our vision, Every Learner Future Ready. I'm personally excited about the progress we're making in the facilities master plan and addressing the needs of our students through contemporary and innovative approaches to learning. This is an exciting time for our district. We are in year 2 of a school board supported strategic plan addressing 5 areas of focus. That plan centers around our story, workforce engagement, student learning in the form of workplace readiness, intercultural mindset, and facilities. The board, Superintendent Buck, and members of the district leadership team appreciate the opportunity this morning to provide you with an update on our initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, President Humbles. As we get started this morning by a round of applause, how many were able to join us last year? So applause, so thank you. Lots of returning folks. So I say that to say this, much of what you're going to hear at the start of this is similar context to what you would have heard last year, because what we're working on today is providing you with an update. We're in year 2 of our board appointed and an approved strategic plan. And we just want to talk to you today a little bit about the progress that we're making as we're in the midst of the second year of the implementation of that plan. So one of the things I like to always do is just talk about how proud I am to be from Cedar Rapids and a part of Cedar Rapids Schools. We have all kinds of amazing things underway in our classrooms, and I'm confident that that's occurring even today. So some quick examples. We've recently had a middle school activities director get some statewide recognition for her hard work. We have a comprehensive high school director that's gotten some statewide recognition for his work. So we continually have staff members who are noted for the great work that they do. I'm in classrooms a lot. I see a lot of the great things that are happening every day. I was at Kennedy's Pep Assembly a couple weeks ago. I see Principal Klein here today. If you have not ever been to a Kennedy Pep Assembly, I cannot articulate what it means to go to a Kennedy Pep Assembly. It was amazing. And the kids were really into it. So I say that to say this. As part of that, they presented the school with banners of playoff participation, the debate team's doing well, kids were recognized, it was awesome, and that's true of all of our comprehensive high schools and all of our schools. So great things underway. What I follow up that with is sort of this other reality of our context, and the other reality of our context is this. We have gaps in our student achievement data and other data when it especially as it pertains to students in traditionally underserved groups. And the traditionally underserved groups, by way of reminder for those that were here and information that for those who weren't able to join us last year, those are students who are children of poverty, are identified as free and reduced lunch students, students who are racially or ethnically diverse, students who are on individualized education plans, often thought of as students in special education, and students for whom English is not their first language or English learners. So if you look into that data set, what you find is this. If a student is in one or more of those categories, those students are less likely to be proficient, less likely to be identified for AP programming, less identified for gifted and talented programming, more likely to be disciplined, and the list goes on and on. So those exist in our data set. So the work that we're doing is to get at these issues of equity and access. We want to provide an equitable system, a more equitable system, and a more accessible system for all of our students. And that takes us to our strategic plan. So the work that's included in our strategic plan, we believe by delivering on these 5 big ideas or 5 buckets, that we're going to be more likely and actually expect that we're going to close these gaps and provide that more equitable, accessible system for all of our students. So we are working on a modernized vision, and that vision is Every Learner Future Ready. So we're going to do this activity today. I'm going to say, because we do it a lot, I'm going to say Every Learner, you're going to say Future Ready. Every learner? Future ready. Every learner? Future ready. Good. So now we're going to get a little bit crazier this morning. We don't usually do this part, so I just want you to see, when you see Noreen Bush, tell her that I kicked it up a notch. I just want you to know. So you're about halfway here, so I'm going to direct you, I'm going to point, you're going to say Every Learner, then you're going to say Future Ready. So are you ready? Every learner, future ready. Every learner, future ready. All right, so that's easy, right? Like that's the level 100 version of being able to do this. So what we're going to do now, and I'm confident you can do this, because this is like the level 200 version of Every Learner. Future ready. Oh my goodness, maybe we aren't ready. Okay, so think of yourself as 4 groups. So this is a group, that's a group, and that's a group. This is almost going to be in the round. So I'm going to just direct the action. Hold on a second. Don't follow me with this. This is just the directions. Every learner, future ready. Every learner, future ready. So do you see how this is going to work? This like gets to the round. Okay. Some are nodding. Some are thinking, I can't even remember if I'm every learner or future ready. All right. Good. But our kids will be, so that's good. So are you ready? So I'm going to point. You're saying your part. We're going to do it kind of in the round. Are we set? Okay, this would be yes. Perfect. Awesome. Every learner. Every learner. Every learner. Every learner. Woo! Big round of applause. All right, so the final version of this, no, I'm kidding. But you get the idea. We really are focused on exactly that, and we want to be inclusive of all of our students, and we want to make sure that they are prepared. So our mission goes on to talk about things like preparedness. It goes on to talk about things like passion and making sure kids have a plan upon graduation, and a focus on making sure that kids do graduate. And then after they graduate, they're ready to say, I need a 2-year degree, I need an advanced credential, I want to go to the military, I want a 4-year degree. But we want to make sure that they are situated to be able to make those choices and recognize that that high school diploma, while important, it's just the next step to the next most important thing, which is some kind of learning beyond that high school diploma to better situate them for the economy of Iowa. So to deliver on that, we have 5 focus areas. President Humbles did a nice job of laying those out. So they are story, they are workforce, they're student learning outcomes in the form of workplace outcomes, intercultural mindset, and facilities. So my role today is I'm sort of the handler. So we're going to bring some of the real talent up on stage today. The first one we're going to talk about today is intercultural mindset. So I'll give a little bit of context. A little context for intercultural mindset is this. A few years back, we started some work on providing and supporting staff members with strategies in classrooms that are good for all students, but are in particular good for students in the traditionally underserved groups that I talked about before. So we were working on those strategies, and as we were working to implement those strategies, one of the things that became clear is, beyond working on specific strategies, we also needed to be working on understanding culture, and not only understanding the culture of our students, but understanding our own culture and the intersection that is the my culture and my experiences, the culture and experiences of our students, and how that works out in tandem with high-quality strategies. So that led us to a large objective related to intercultural development. So Rod Dooley is with us this morning. He's our Executive Director of Equity, and he's going to talk to us a little bit of progress that's being made as it relates to intercultural development. Please welcome, join me in welcoming Rod.
Thank you, Dr. Buck, and welcome. We're so glad that you came to join us this morning to learn a little more about what's going on here with the district. And so today I get to talk about intercultural mindset. And so if you look at this picture, things have changed over time. Our classrooms are no more like that on the left, but more like that on the right. Our kids are coming from very different backgrounds, and you can see here on the slide, this next area, it'll talk about how more diverse we are than we were 10 years ago. You can see that we were less than 20% diverse. Now we're over 30% diverse with our student population. Those who are of low socioeconomic status, it used to be around 30%. Now it's about 50%. Some of our schools, it's much higher than that. The languages, it was great to hear the choir up here singing this morning. How many of you didn't understand not much of what they were singing, right? We have students used to who only spoke a few languages. We now have students whose primary language, it's over 60 different languages in our schools. You're talking about diversity and people of different backgrounds and different cultures. But look at our staff. Our staff has not changed over the last 10 years in their diversity. And so we've got a staff that is pretty monocultural, and we got a student population that is very multicultural. And so as we think about intercultural mindset, how are we going to help all of our staff grow their mindsets to be able to relate to those different students? And so we have this intercultural development opportunity for each of our staff to really engage, to move from this monocultural mindset. So there's kind of the mindset of the culture that I live in, and that's all that exists, all the way up to a very intercultural mindset where we're able to adapt our understanding based on how all of those different cultures present themselves. And so we've been on this journey. Last year we piloted 3 schools. This year we've got another 6 schools engaged in the development. We have over 900 staff members who've taken an assessment of where they sit on this continuum and are now engaged in their own personal development to grow their mindset. Because it's very important as we relate to these people who have different cultural experiences, how do we help them learn and engage in the learning? And so it's not just a nice thing to do, hopefully you saw, because we have such a diverse population. But it really is important to deliver on our promise of every learner future ready, not just some, but every one of them. And Dr. Buck talked a little bit about these achievement gaps. And you can see the numbers. The first one there is African American students. So African American students compared to their white counterparts, there's a 38% achievement gap. You can see the rest of those, free and reduced lunch, those who have individualized education plans, and those who where English is not their first language. So you can see that we have work to do. And so a part of really helping us deliver on that promise is all of us growing our mindset to be able to relate to people and our students who come from many different backgrounds. So again, thank you for your time and attention this morning. Dr. Buck.
So thank you, Rod. Next up is going to be Linda Noggle. She's our Executive Director of Talent Management. So one of the things we're working on is workforce. And I want to be clear about this before Linda comes up. We have amazing staff members in Cedar Rapids Community Schools, and they are working hard. I agree. And they are working hard every single day to the benefit of our kids and staff and one another and our families. I do also want to say this. I meant to say it a little bit earlier, and since I'm sort of the handler today, I can, I guess, spice it in where I want. One of the things about which I worry as I think about our system is our system is expecting more than it's ever expected. There's greater accountability. There's greater complexity to the system. It's being asked to do more than it's ever been expected. That rests solely on our workforce. The demands on our workforce are increasing nearly exponentially in some ways. And at the same time, the very sources of revenue that would be intended for public schools are not increasing commensurate with the expectations that are being placed on the system and the extra complexity that is being woven into the system. I don't say that as a complaint, I say it as this. One of the things about which I worry as a superintendent is that I think as Iowans, we're going to need to have some real conversations about what is the role of state government, what is the size of the state budget, what does that mean for tax structure, and what does it mean for Iowans going forward if we're really going to deliver on a promise of every learner, right? So there's complexity in the system. But I would go back to this, which is the happier part. I'm super proud to be in Cedar Rapids and proud of the work our staff do. On that note, we're working on staff engagement. We're working on diversity in our staff, and Linda's with us to talk a little bit of an update on that in year 2 of our strategic plan. Please join me in welcoming Linda.
Good morning. Welcome. We're so glad to see all of you here. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to be with us. I get the privilege of talking a little bit about our workforce. Oftentimes people don't think about the district as an employer, but we are the 4th largest employer in the county. Yes, the 4th largest employer in the county, and the 2nd largest district. That's big. We have a presence here, and we have about 2,800 staff members who support over 16,000 students. And a good portion of those staff members are made up of our teachers and our principals, and you probably engage with them on a very frequent basis, but we also have an enormous amount of people who are behind the scenes supporting our staff and our students as well. Our transportation department, for instance, this morning I was just talking to Scott Wing, who is our manager of transportation, and he was sharing with me a story about a bus driver who's made a difference for one of our students. He sings to all of us kids every single day, and he's made a real difference, so that's great. And then food and nutrition. In our food and nutrition arena, they serve 12,000 lunches and 3,500 breakfasts every day. I don't know about you, but I get grumpy when I have to cook twice a week. So shout out to them. They do an awesome job. And I'll just say, if you ever see them, stay out of their way. They're super busy. And then, of course, we have our para organization. We could not do what we do without our paras, who are working one-on-one with our students, as well as supporting our teachers each and every day. And we're so thankful for the work that they do. And then, of course, all of our support staff and all of that work that happens behind the scenes. We really are blessed to have a great, fantastic staff members. So Rod had mentioned about the demographic changes that we're starting to experience in our student population. And as we started to put our strategic plans together and really look at what does that look like then for our workforce, we had to start to dig in and understand how does our workforce also have to change along with our student demographics. And so to that end, part of our recruiting and retention plan, we have designed a new position, which is a diversity program recruiter position. And I just want to do a shout out. I think Joy Briscoe is here. If she could stand for a moment. There she is, way over there. I know many of you have had the opportunity to meet Joy already. Joy is helping us in regards to our diversity recruitment strategy, and she's meeting with many of you to sort of understand the landscape in regards to diversity and how we can bring more diversity into our workforce. A couple of things that she's doing, some key areas she's focused on is strengthening our relationship in the community. So there's lots of great community work that is happening today. We know that many of you also struggle with how do we bring in diversity and what does our workforce look like from a diversity perspective. So she's going to be a partner in that and sit at that table and talk about some of those challenges, learn best practices, learn things that we can do to help bring in more talent into the Iowa area as well, Cedar Rapids. Also looking at how do we engage and retain a talented workforce. So we're looking at all of our hiring practices, everything that we do from the very beginning, the first interaction that we have with a candidate, all the way through the hiring process, and what messaging are we sending, how are we helping them understand the diversity and how important that is for us here at the school district as well. And then of course, building our own talent. So living up to every learner, future ready, we are creating programs in which we will look at students who have an interest in education and grow them as well and find pathways in which they can go get education degrees and come back to the Cedar Rapids district. So we're really excited about that program as well. And we realize by doing all of this, it's going to help us all be better staff members, create a workforce that's very engaged, empowered, and just ready to conquer the world. So we're very excited about that. So thank you.
So thank you, Linda. So if you're looking at your tattoo right now, we've done 2 of the 5, so you can just take a peek. We've done 2 of the 5, and we're now headed to story. So a little bit of context about story. We felt like our story wasn't being told in a way that reflects what's really occurring with Cedar Rapids Schools, so we made it a priority. And as part of that, Akwi Enji joined our team, and Akwi is with us today, and she's going to give us an update on our strategic plan related to our story. Please welcome Akwi.
Thank you, Dr. Buck. When I was interviewing for the position over a year ago, Dr. Buck might have forewarned that the most anxiety-producing communications I would send out would be around weather. True story, true story. It's been said that next to doing the right thing, the most important thing is to let people know you are doing the right thing. Our communications focus is to engage, inform, and activate trust in our organization, as well as advocacy for public education. We aim to accomplish that through strategic, consistent, and frequent use of traditional and digital media. When I began this work with my team last year, my first goal was to identify the low-hanging fruit. How can we quickly develop avenues through which we could engage families, staff, the community with information about our school district? For our employees, we started with a monthly email with important updates pertinent to most everyone on our staff. With families in the community, we focused on social media, primarily through a year-long campaign called Our Stories, a series which spotlighted a different school each week through video vignettes and photos featuring staff, students, and the fun, innovative, feel-good programming that occurs in our schools every day. As a result of that strategic work, our social media engagement grew tremendously. In some platforms, our followers increased by over 100%. Why does that matter? Engagement in social media. When we push out content, we want it to reach as wide an audience as possible. We want people, as many people as possible, to understand several things: our challenges, our solutions to those challenges, and our successes. We also want to build trust. One of the most effective ways to build trust is to acknowledge your shortcomings. So, we've been deliberate and transparent about acknowledging our shortcomings, as evidenced even in the data sets that you just heard from Dr. Buck. Acknowledging achievement barriers and explaining how we aim to overcome them, addressing the needs of our staff, improving communication, acknowledging fiscal conundrums which force difficult conversations and decisions. We are working through social and traditional media to communicate this, while celebrating that we are a community of diverse, creative, passionate, hardworking students and staff. That is the task. This work of telling our story, is not easy. It's a delicate balancing act between hard news and soft news. If you know journalism, you know what that means. Push nuts and bolts information out, pull people in with story. We understand that it's crucial we do both. In the context of soft news, we've continued with our stories this year, version 2.0, and we launched a weekly series called Buck Stops on Twitter and Facebook, designed to offer a window into our district through the lens of our superintendent. We also launched a video series called Did You Know?, which offers nuts and bolts about our district, from everything from transportation, bus checks, to what we're up to in technology. Regarding hard news, we continue to educate our families and the community about the High Reliability Schools framework, the facilities master plan, profile of a graduate, safety and security, and digital literacy, just to name a few. We do this through our website and traditional news. We continue our efforts to build a congenial relationship with the media. Last year, we released an average of 12 press releases and story tips per month. In other news, we're finalizing an official brand guide and social media guide, which will be released to our staff this summer. We've also worked to start designing an aesthetic brand to increase visual familiarity and brand awareness. Something like even the template that we're using for the PowerPoint today incorporates graphic elements that you'll see in the highlighter in 2 weeks and other signage around town. Our district visioning poster, our billboards sponsored by Generous Donor, graphic elements that will appear in our upcoming insert, as I just mentioned, all of this is part of the work. We also understand there's a very serious side to our goal around story. For instance, we're currently researching and analyzing tools and platforms which will enable us to accurately and more swiftly communicate to families in crisis and urgent situations. There's work to be done, certainly. As Linda mentioned, we're the 4th largest employer in the county, the 2nd largest school district in the state. Our size alone would suggest the complexities are infinite. Yet, we meet all of that with urgency and a steadfast commitment to our professional and moral responsibility to ensure each of our students is immersed in a safe, challenging, and engaging academic experience. The goal of our communications team is to tell that true story.
Thank you, Akwi. I'm violating one of my life rules today. I'm following Akwi on stage. Thank you. So if you've not seen a Buck Stop video, has anybody seen a Buck Stop video? Okay. Hashtag Buck Stop. All right, so they're campy, unedited, but they're a lot of fun. Kids save the day generally. So I do have to tell you this because it made me think of it when Akwi mentioned it. Not once, but twice, we have gotten the entire video done, and I have it on photo and not video. So then I look at the kids and say, hey, you ready to do it again? And then in one instance, the kid said, I told you. Anyway, so they're a lot of fun, and I think they give insight, sort of unvarnished insight. So I get to talk a little bit about our strategic goal related to student learning outcomes, and really it's in the context of workplace readiness. So this conversation started about 1.5 years ago. We started to dig into this conversation through sort of general conversations with our employers, and as we listened to employers, one of the things that struck us is, while academics are important, they didn't generally come up in the conversation. So when we were talking with employers, they oftentimes didn't say things like, boy, I wish they knew just a little bit about, dangling participles, and I wish they knew just a little bit more about Pythagorean's theorem. Those things have value. It's important that we have content and content understanding in our students. At the same time, what they were really talking about is things that were on this list. Can they problem solve? Can they collaborate? Can they think creatively? Can they take what they know and actually apply it in a new context with confidence to the benefit of my workplace? So as we talk to them. So that started us on a journey. We brought in our School Improvement Advisory Committee, and we are really lucky with our School Improvement Advisory Committee. It has business leaders on there, it has staff members on there, it has parents and family members on there, it has students on there, and what emerged from that is this idea of a future-ready set of skills. So to be college and or career ready, you need to have this set of skills. And we've been talking about this for a while. I don't think it's a surprise to most in the room, 21st century skills, those types of things. So what is the challenge? How many have been in a meeting where somebody mentions, I wish kids had 21st century skills, life skills, or anybody been in a meeting like that? Okay. So we've been in a lot of meetings like that. The real question isn't like, is this valuable? The real question is, how do we operationalize that so these skills are intentionally built in our students? And so that's the work that we're around. So if you want to click to the profile of a graduate. So what we've done is we've designed a profile of a graduate. And basically what that profile of graduate is part of our school improvement advisory committee work in conjunction with employers. These are the areas that emerged as the topics that we want to make sure we're becoming even more intentional around in building capacity in our students. So how do you do that? We're in communication with the group. Ken Cade leads the group. It's Leadership 21. And they are a network of schools and districts across the country that have started to really dig into this conversation. And one of the best parts is there are all kinds of tools out there that are available at different grade spans around these types of skills that will allow you to give specific feedback to students about how they are progressing in these skill sets, and provide opportunities for students to reflect on their own growth. So if you've seen sort of rubric style things in your life, it's a continuum from, sort of not yet there to exceptional. Does that make sense to folks? So in these tools, there's actually collaboration as it relates to 11th grade. These are some of the skills and dispositions we'd expect to see in a student in 11th grade in collaboration. Here's how they're defined across the continuum. And in that model, you can give specific feedback to students about how they're doing, and they can self-reflect on that. That is what it's going to take, that operational level, that is what it's going to take, we believe, to build the various skill sets in kids that our employers most desire, and more importantly, situates them for a future of their choosing. So we're excited about the work. We're in year 2 of it. We are on the very front end of it. Staff members that I know are going to be listening to this video later, I just want you to know I get it. So some of them are saying, so we barely even know anything about this and you're talking to the community about it. Right, we're vision casting it, we're working on it, and we're going to continue to work in tandem with one another to support our staff members as they work to implement these types of systems to the benefit of our kids. So that is that goal. The next one, the final one, and the 5th one is facilities. So our facility master plan is underway. By way of reminder, the board approved a facility master plan in January of this year. And the broad brush of that plan is we intend over the next 15 or so years to go from 21 elementaries to 13 larger elementaries and repurpose 8 of our existing elementaries. If you click in and drill down on that plan, the first phase of that plan begins with Coolidge. So Coolidge is the first school that would be replaced, and we will build a new Coolidge on the Coolidge site. So the intent is we build a new Coolidge on the Coolidge site. This is phase 1 of the plan. The next step is we build a new Jackson on the Jackson site, and once the new larger Coolidge school and Jackson schools are completed, we would then repurpose Truman and shift around the students into these new environments. So that is phase 1. At the end of that, the board has made a conscious commitment that we would pause that process to see is the context still right, and what are the next steps in the implementation of that plan. Now, one of the things that's probably the most important point in all this is money, right? I love it, right? So everybody's friends till you start talking about money. So the key to that is the extension of the SAVE penny. So there's a statewide penny for school infrastructure that is set to expire in 2029. We're working hard to see if that could be extended to 2049, and then that becomes the revenue source to put this plan into place. One more click in. Recently at a board meeting, we were given support and guidance by the board that we could move forward with the architect selection process for Coolidge. So we are right now in the midst of designing requests for proposals, an RFP proposal to get that architect process underway. Those RFPs hopefully will be out yet this month, and our best hope at this point is that we have an architect selected by early spring, and hopefully in tandem with the legislative session being underway and the extension of the SAVE penny. But that is the update as it exists today as it relates to facilities. I do also want to mention, I'm glad that's in front of me, we do have a facilities microsite. So if you want to really get sort of the most current information as it relates to our facilities plan, if you visit that website, we actually have a microsite that's completely dedicated to our facilities plan. And so that is available to you. So with that, I get to make a few closing comments. I kind of feel like I wish I had my phone on me because I'd do a buck stops and I'd get all you in it. And I'd get half of your heads and then it would just be a picture and we could start over. But don't be alarmed. I just wanted to make sure I closed with a little bit of tightness to my comments, and these are those. As you've heard today, in the midst of what is a generally successful and innovative organization, we have troubling data sets. We don't intend to shy away from that. It is our current reality, and we are dedicated to doing the heavy lifting and complicated work of implementing solutions. At the heart of the 5 focus areas which you heard about today is an emphasis on student learning, leadership and workforce, culture and climate, and building a relationship of trust with an engaged and informed community. Additionally, integrated into nearly all of our conversations around student success, whether we're talking about facilities, curriculum, workforce, communication, transportation, or a host of other topics, is an acknowledgement of the importance of equity and access. We believe we're moving in the right direction, and we appreciate that we're doing this with the support of all of you. Thank you for your support, your partnership, and your trust. In fact, at this time, I'd like to take a moment to thank our many partners who may be represented in the audience this morning. If you represent an organization on our list as a partner, please stand and remain standing so we can recognize you. So partners in our community, and I've seen many of you here today, I appreciate that you are. So if you're a nonprofit organization we work with, a business we work with, any other kind of partner, if you just stand at this time, we want to do a round of applause. Lots of you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank you for your efforts and your support to deliver on the promise of every learner. You still got it. Be sure to peek at our upcoming publication, which will appear in the Gazette on December 16th. In that insert, you'll learn about additional initiatives like our digital literacy plan, Hoover Elementary is the state's first community school-based model, and much more. With that, thank you for joining us this morning. Happy holidays, Happy New Year to you and your families. Thank you.